Hello, today is lesson 3. We're going to go through dip, which is the plural subject marker, to delk, which is to talk, and still, which is to go with or to accompany. We'll get into those two later. As for now, corrections, Tuscanute, all week. I don't know where that K came from in the last video. I apologize if you've been learning to say it that way, but it is simpler, so thankfully that's better to say Tuscanute than Cascanute. I don't know where that came from. Sit. I forgot the W in the fall for the last video. And then Hani Stunsa is Friday, not Hani Stunsa, as the last video would suggest. So apologies for those. A little bit of humility beads on the video, if you will. Let's get started on today's lesson. Again, everything is adapted from Miss Katie Ludwig's teachings, and as she has told me to tell you that these are not the only way to say things, they are some of the ways to say things. There are many ways to say many things in Gitxsan, just the same as English, and so keep that in mind going forward. These are some of the ways to get you started on speaking the language now. So dip is the plural subject marker. What that means is that dip comes before the subjects if there's more than one subject in a sentence. So we've learned how to say subjects, proper nouns, people's names in singular, and this is just what happens when we speak about plural subjects. So in this case, John and Bobby saw Susie. Got us dip John, got Bobby Susie. Again, you see that T marker before the object of the sentence, in this case Susie. She's the one being seen. John and Bobby are the ones doing the seeing. And something interesting in the language when it's translated to English is, sometimes you might have heard people say something like, I saw them Sally at bingo, or I saw them Martha and Sarah at the feast last night. Like that, them in those sentences is sort of a direct translation of dip. So that doesn't mean that dip means them. That's not exactly what's going on, but it's sort of like a Gitxsan English translation idiosyncrasy. It's like a thing that happens, and it just kind of stuck. That might sound really familiar to you, those two sentences I just said. So in this sentence structure, John and Bobby saw Susie. Gas dip John, gunt Bobby, Susie. And so, and this also works for common nouns, and that T marker just turns into an HL. And so, gas dip John, gunt Bobby, chada. So verb, subjects, objects again. Them John and Bobby saw a moose. Gas dip John, gunt Bobby, chada. Gas dip John, gunt Bobby, Susie. And so those are how you say those. That's for plural subjects with proper nouns. Now, these are different from plural subject sentences where the subjects are not named, and for those sentences, you just use those standard pronouns we learned earlier. That would be gam, gaasam, and gadit, which is we saw, you all saw, or they saw, and that's first, second, third person plural sentence structure. And so we'll get started on the sentences. And as you can see, there's no English translation because with the last two videos and this one, you now have the skills to translate everything in these sentences that we are about to read together. And so if you would like, I think it would be really cool for you to put the translations into the comments below, 1 through 5. So let's get started. Ga'a step Phil, gant jaunt, Bobby, Gaal, Galdemort, Gadol, Gyots. Ga'a step Phil, gant jaunt, Bobby, Gaal, Galdemort, Gadol, Gyots. Gyant, Susie, Gunt, Molly, Gaal, Wilp, Amadelgas, Gyow. Gyant, Susie, Gunt, Molly, Gaal, Wilp, Amadelgas, Gyow. Gyas, Bob, Us, Gaal, Hatni, Hlit, Hatni, Ek. Gyas, Bob, Us, Gaal, Hatni, Hlit, Hatni, Ek. Ga'adit will, Ga'al wilp seep. Ga'adit will, Ga'al wilp seep. Ga'a stip gil, Gant bedit, Ga'al wilp talk, Gyots. Ga'a stip gil, Gant bedit, Ga'al wilp talk, Gyots. So, practice those. Find the translations from the past few videos, and then we will get started on still. And so still means to go with or to accompany, and just like many of the words we're going to be learning, what you do is you take the ending of the pronoun words, which are neat, neen, nit, noom, nisum, nadit. You should be able to rattle them off like that, because those are super important, and those tell you who or what is happening in the when you're speaking. So in this case, stilly, I went or was with. Stillin, you went or were with. Stillit, he or she went or was with somebody. Stillit, we were with someone or went with someone. Stillisup, you all went or were with somebody. Stilldeet, which is they went or were with somebody. And then stillis is someone when you're using a proper noun again. So stillit Susie, I went with Susie. Stillit Susie, you went with Susie. Stillit Susie, he or she went with Susie. Stillit Susie, he went with Susie. Stillisup Susie, you all went with Susie. Stilldeet Susie, Stilldeet Susie, they went with Susie. Stillis Jote Susie, so Joe went with Susie, and that's how you say that one. So for the sentences, once again, I will not put the translations up. You have all the information you need to translate them yourself now. And so sentence 6 is Gas bobbed Doug got wilp talk Gyow. Stillit Susie. That was Gas bobbed Doug got wilp talk Gyow. Stillit Susie. Gas bobbed Doug got wilp talk Gyow. Stillit Susie. Sentence 7 is Guide Doug got wilp litigate Gadol Gyots. Stillit Tip John. Guide Doug got wilp litigate Gadol Gyots. Stillit Tip John. So again, these are not going to have translations, and I'm hoping you can put your own translations in the comments below. And there is something wrong with one of the 7 sentences in this video, and I'm hoping somebody can point that out. And if you do, I'll I don't know, be real impressed, I guess. But so I'm going to leave this video here. There's not enough time to get into Dedilk, which I think is a good thing anyway, because the use of Dedilks in these sentences is going to require the use of a whole new concept for us, which is the use of tense. So past tense, present tense, future tense, that type of thing. And so those will be covered in the next video. As for now, if you feel comfortable or confident enough to do it, I would think it would be really cool if people were to stitch themselves saying some of these sentences or your own sentences, and just like play I Spy with yourself around the house, you know. G'ai hobich, I see a spoon, or g'ai deuce, I see a cat. Or if you're driving around, g'ai gyoden, I see g'ai us, I see a horse, or I see a dog. And these types of things can get you in the practice of practicing the language day in and day out. And so for now, I thank you all for watching, and I will talk to you all again. Or how to say that in our language is Toyoxit Nisum Win Algalsum E Democh Dedalgite Nisum.